Again, my name is Sami Awad. I am co-director of Nonviolence International, and I welcome you to our webinar entitled Genocide Resistance Grows. To share a little bit, Nonviolence International is a backbone organization for the global nonviolent movement. We provide fiscal sponsorship and training, and we spread knowledge and transformative stories of dynamic, emerging nonviolent movements that give us hope in difficult times. In short, we are here helping you reshaping what we view as possible. Before we start, I want to personally, on behalf of all of you, hopefully, express our solidarity and support for Huwaida Arraf, who was supposed to join us today. And as we know, all Huwaida and all others on the Conscience boat, which is part of the Freedom Flotilla, they were illegally hijacked by the Israeli military in international waters as they were sailing towards Gaza to break the siege over there. With this, we state our total solidarity and appreciation for the actions of hundreds of people around the world who are engaging tirelessly to break the siege and bring aid into Gaza. As always, one action item you can do now, and this is always what we want people to do, engage in action items. One action item you can do now is call your representatives, members of parliament, to immediately demand from Israel the release of the activists, the release of the boats, and the release of the aid. Huwaida was part of the Freedom Flotilla. Nonviolence International has been a fiscal sponsor of the Freedom Flotilla for the past 17 years. And so many people are surprised when they hear that these actions to break the siege in Gaza have been going on for over 17 years. And we will continue to be a fiscal sponsor for the Freedom Flotilla until the siege is over. If you want to continue or you want to start your support for the Freedom Flotilla, please find the link in the chat. We have also put a link to the press release that was just issued by the Freedom Flotilla regarding the last attack on them. And with this introduction, I would like to introduce to you my dear friend and my colleague who also worked with me at Holy Land Trust, Amira Musallam, who will be holding the conversation with leaders of this enormous nonviolent global movement against the Gaza genocide. Amira is head of mission for Unarmed Civilian Protection in Palestine. Her bio and link to UCPiP, you could find them in the chat. Amira, thank you for joining us.
Yes, hello everyone. Good evening, good morning, from wherever you are. Actually, I'm a little bit, I have technical issues here. I'm using two phones at a time because I had to rush into the field for an emergency where one of our dear activists and who does protective presence in Area C for the community here was brutally attacked and arrested by the Israeli police. And so as a head of mission, I had to be here, and I forgot my laptop in Bethlehem, and I had to run to here to Jericho that side. So I hope the sound is clear. And thank you, Sami. And before we start, I would like for us to take a moment of silence to connect with and remember all those who have died as a result of the genocide taking place in the occupied Palestinian territories and has entered its third year. Thank you, everyone, and welcome. I'm grateful you've made time to be here. As we enter the third year of Palestinian resistance to genocide, we carry grief. I acknowledge the murder of the father of our dear friend and sister Haneen in Gaza, who we'll be listening to in a bit, by the Israeli army a month ago today. At the same time, we carry courage and also a fierce love that refuses to give up on life, dignity, and each other. Tonight, we're joined by Haneen Sabbah, Sahar Vardi, and Ariel Gold, organizers, culture workers, and nonviolence practitioners whose courage keeps widening the circle of protection and hope. This time is a learning space and an action space. We will center frontline experience and see how we can move from story to strategy to clear next steps. And to begin, I would just like to do a check-in to just ask you at this time, what is moving with you? What your thoughts, feelings, what your inner questions are at this time. I will also share my thoughts after you do. So Ariel, would you like to start?
So, thank you, Amira. I'm not sure if I've met you before. I used to do regular protective presence in the West Bank and then was deported and barred for 8 years and actually finally got back in this past summer. But, you know, I guess it'll be kind of a personal check-in. So we're in the middle of the Jewish high holiday season and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and I've been doing a lot of thinking specifically about, so it's said in the Jewish faith that like it's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur when it's decided by God and through repentance and good deeds and prayer, like who shall live and who shall die. And that is sealed on Yom Kippur. And I've been spending a lot of time thinking about how, we've lost at least, the lowball number of 67,000 Palestinians in Gaza already. And the fate of hundreds of thousands have been sealed by Israel, because even if Israel does stop bombing tomorrow, if may it happen, even if a deal is reached and that ceasefire is maintained, hundreds of thousands of people are already condemned to death from starvation and disease, and so many have had their fate sealed as amputees and as traumatized children. And this isn't a God designed, right? This is man-made, the sealing of these fates, and done in all of our names, but particularly in mine and some of the other Jewish folks that are here. And as well, so after Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we go into the Jewish holiday of Sukkot, where we build these little huts outside and we eat in them. And it is about shelter within perilous times, right? And so I've been thinking a lot as well of what it is to spread a shelter of peace over not just not my little backyard so much, but like those who need shelter, those who are living amid the rubble. And I include within that everyone in and targeted by ICE here in the United States. And so I appreciate this webinar about the efforts through nonviolence to provide whatever degree of a shelter of peace we are able to for each other. And I'll stop there.
Great. Haneen. Hello, ya Haneen.
Hello and أهلا everyone. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you for having me today. And yeah, what's moving, what's alive in me is I think about my father. That a month ago, his sacred soul left his sacred body as a result of the continuation of the genocide in Gaza. He was targeted and shot by the soldiers and he was under operation for all of 7th of September, and then on the 8th he left. I'm praying for his spirit a lot and inviting all my friends to pray for him. And as well, I'm still in a way in disbelief. It feels like somehow, because I didn't get to say goodbye or bury his body or touch him, it feels like not real in a way, that fact. So that's really alive in me. I'm here in Portugal, very safe area, very beautiful area, marvelous nature and ocean, and yet in every minute of my day, when I wake up, I make breakfast for my children. I think of the mothers in Gaza. What do they tell their children when they are waking up hungry, wanting breakfast? I take my kids to school, and then I think of all the Gazan children that haven't, the thousands of children that haven't been able to go to school for the last 2 years or more. And then whenever I have my coffee, I think about these in Gaza, not able to have these leverage basic things. I go to the toilet and I think about the queuing of people having to do just to go to the toilet, and the limitation of all the kind of resources. So I was really just physically feeling that in my system today. I mean, I feel it every day, but that today, this remembrance of my father Abdel Karim and Gaza is very, very strongly present. And to see this kind of world movement for Palestine, for Gaza, it gives me some sense of like hope to know that, okay, we are not alone in this. Yeah, I'll stop there. I can share more later. Thank you.
Thank you, Haneen, and Allah yarhamu for your father. God bless his soul. And also we have a say in Arabic. It says al-khallaf mamat. It means whoever has like children or have got children to this life will never die. And so you are here to pass on his legacy, and you are a strong woman, a great woman who I'm proud to call a Palestinian. So keep up the good work you are doing and the courage you are showing to the world. And thank you for being with us today, even in the difficult moments like today. Yeah, thank you. Sahar, also I would like to remind everyone that we are sharing the bios and like websites for each speaker in the chat. So anybody who would like to know more details about the speakers, about Haneen and Sahar and Ariel, are welcome to look at the chat box. Yeah, thank you, Haneen. Sahar? Tell me.
Yeah. Hi. So I think some of my feelings have to do even just with with distance. And in a way, I think currently in this call, I'm probably the closest to Gaza physically, but a million miles away in every other way. Exactly the things that Henny is speaking about. You know, you take a shower and you just think how much water and how much could have been done with this water, and how much it's needed, and it's less than an hour drive away from me. And yesterday, the level of bombing in Gaza was such that in Jerusalem, which usually you cannot hear the bombings, there were moments where you could hear them. And just understanding how close, and again, how different a reality and how a living hell can exist amongst us, just next to us. I think that's a lot of the feelings that I'm in, which in many ways, there is something very helpless about it. And kind of, I think we'll speak later on about our place within it and what can be done or can't be done. But also I do want to recognize this moment where we are at a moment that I think we're all in different ways praying for this current conversation of a possible ceasefire and end to the genocide to happen. And we are all hoping for something that is also terrible, right? We're hoping for something that if you just think about it as a plan, as an extremely colonial, neoliberal plan, that is now what this place of hopelessness has made us hope for. And I think that just coming into this conversation, I would like part of what I'm trying to do within this conversation is trying to think about how do we think of hope beyond what we're being allowed to hope, which is so minimal.
Yeah. I feel almost the same, yet maybe I'm a bit different. I'm like I'm from Bethlehem. I live in Bethlehem. I'm based in Bethlehem in the West Bank, and I do go to the field where real violence and terrorism is happening firsthand in the West Bank by settlers, by IDF and police. And it's really hard. This is like the injustice that we have been talking about it all our life as Palestinians, injustice. But when you live it and you see it with your own eyes, you know what does it mean. It's really, you don't know where to go, from where to seek help. If you call the police, they come and attack you. You call the IDF, they come and attack you. And they bring the settlers to attack you with them. Today you will see videos around. I can share with you that we called the police for some settlers who were harassing the Palestinian community here in Ras Al Auza. And the police came and didn't want to even talk with the settlers and attacked our activists and brutally attacked them. They dragged one of our activists, who's a Jewish, Israeli, and American. They dragged him on the floor. They punched him in the face. He was like bleeding. And he was telling them, you are like, I'm being suffocated, I can't breathe. Please leave me. And nothing. They even more. And they called the settlers to attack him with them, and it's horrible. It's frustrating. But at the same time, I still have hope. And this hope comes when I see all the different activists on the ground, the Israeli activists, the Palestinian activists, the international activists coming together and doing work together, standing together, co-resisting together. And that gives me so much hope, because I remember as a little girl going to the different peace building talks. I remember whenever I wanted to talk about like the real situation and the real reality that we are living as Palestinians, they wouldn't allow me. But now I can see more people are coming to the field and talking and even saying the words as they are. Like they are saying ethnic cleansing, they are saying occupation, they are saying genocide. And that gives me so much hope, even in the midst of the darkest days that we are living as Palestinians. So yeah, that's how I feel. With all the frustration, I still have a glimpse of hope with all these activists that, if you looked back 2 years ago or 3 years ago, you couldn't see as many as now. So yeah, I thank everyone in the field, everyone who is risking his life, all the internationals who are really like risking it all, starting with the flotilla and the activists who are here in the West Bank, and whoever is doing like all kind of activism around the world and calling for the justice for the Palestinian people. I thank them from my heart as a Palestinian. And yeah, so thank you, Sahar. Thank you, Haneen and Ariel. And now as we move into the third year of this genocide, something that many of us thought would not reach this point of time, knowing that so many are discouraged with how the global political community has responded, I would like to invite each of you to share one moment from the past year or two that reaffirmed your commitment. In essence, why have you not lost hope? and maybe share one nonviolent practice that is currently seen by you as advancing impact. So yeah, Ariel, again, we go back to you.
Oh, sure. Can you repeat the about impact?
Yes.
Well, actually, I want to kind of pick up on the thread of instilling hope or finding hope in this very, very dark and horrific time. And yes, there are all of these international activists, and that is despite how difficult Israel makes it for internationals or for Jewish Israelis or for Palestinian citizens of Israel to do solidarity activism, well, actually even just to connect with Palestinians and get to know them in the West Bank, never mind Gaza. But that is stronger than ever. And so much of the place where I get hope these days is in watching what I really call an earthquake that has been and is taking place in Jewish American community. It is a seismic shift. And for so long, those of us Jewish Americans that did Palestine solidarity work or supported Palestinian rights, we were like a few of us standing on the street corner, like 10 of us at a time often. And I didn't dream it would start to happen this fast, that it would become such a change, a seismic shift in awareness of what's happening and care for what's happening. And that is, it's coming from Jewish American youth, from the young generation, but it is trickling up as well. I see it in my own family, and I see, even those who have been long, including members of my own family who have been lifetime diehard supporters of Israel. I see them grappling, right, and struggling with their own values and what Israel is doing, and that grappling is part of that change that takes place. And I know for me, I came to Palestine for the first time that I ever went to Palestine or Israel proper was as an adult in 2013 with then Interfaith Peace Builders, now called Eyewitness Palestine. And I had read a lot, about what was happening. And I was already running some boycott divestment campaigns with Jewish Voice for Peace, but I was so unprepared for seeing it with my own eyes, like the comprehension of the hatred, right, that Israel displays towards Palestinians, and seeing young Jewish children, settler children, very, very young, being instilled with hatred. And it was a process of grief for me. It was like a process of mourning when I got back home to try to like work through so many of these feelings. And it took me like many months to kind of go through that grief period. And but that's not the case for like this next generation, right? They don't get sold the same lie from the beginning, and things are changing, not fast enough to save the lives that we need to see saved. But we are watching a transformation around the world. And for me, it gives hope that it's also among my people. And I cling to that. I cling to that transformation and that hope.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Ariel. Very beautiful. Haneen?
Thank you. To be honest, hope is a big word right now, looking at the situation, the dire situation in Gaza on the ground. However, I've been actually receiving hope from my people in Gaza, from my community and my family. I've been supporting different initiatives in Gaza, like one of them is the doctor initiative. It's really like led by local nurses, doctor, building up tents, trying to help the community for first aid. And then looking at my mother baking bread for the community, distributing. For me, they give me so much power to really stay hopeful and continue, especially being here also in Europe, because I'm based in Portugal, and there's a huge solidarity movement for Palestine also. But then you're still dealing with these kind of different lines of what it means to be a Palestinian outside in diaspora in Europe and having family and friends in Gaza. So I have to say that it's been giving me so much power, my community, my family, to see them this way, like still believing and still wanting to continue to carry on, has been really like so important for me. I must say, I have nights where I don't sleep because I don't see any light coming out of this darkness, but then I receive a message that makes me laugh and then makes me feel hope again to continue with this journey. They are the biggest teacher for me. They are my biggest teachers. And I mean, I have been there in Gaza before. I left 2018, so I've gone through 5 aggressions in my life journey, Israeli aggressions on Gaza. So actually before October 7th. And all of this, I know this kind of feeling of like this internal, this sumud, this kind of strength that you're like, okay, I'm gonna make it no matter what. So this is the attitude. It's okay. You can cry. You can express. You can be angry. You can do whatever you need to do, but you wake up the next day strong to make it, to continue with what you need to do, which is really basic survival things. And another aspect of hope that has given me also to see the Jewish voices also as well rising globally, but also internationals as well, to see this solidarity movement growing and people saying no and not in my name. It's been giving this kind of, yeah, okay, there's movement, there's a life, and there's people putting their life out at stake as well, like the Freedom Flotilla people going into the sea and shouting the prayers and the songs and the letters for Gaza, for the children of Gaza. I was watching them very closely and feeling really, really a lot of hope and admiring the courage of these people. And believing in this also, the transformation of our times as well, the transformation that I go through as a human, but also on a collective level, how it's really helping to lead impact on a deeper level than we expect. Actually, we are in it, so we are not so aware of it, but it is touching on really, really deep things inside.
Yeah, thank you. Sahar?
I'm thinking a lot about a moment, because there's so many moments and each of them connect to our own things. But when you were just saying kind of a moment that reaffirmed my commitment to this work, the first one that came to mind was October 7th, 23, which feels like a weird date to choose to talk about kind of the commitment and the feeling of the importance of the commitment to this work. But I think for me, it was one of those moments that was kind of a reaffirming of what we've been saying in this work for so long, which is that beyond, and this should still be the center. I mean, obviously, Palestinian suffering, apartheid, occupation, and now genocide are the center. But that also beyond those, Israel's response, Israel's policy of constant militarization is not sustainable. And we've been saying this for decades, of saying not only is this wrong, which is the most important part, but also it's just not actually a path forward to anything. And October 7th was the manifestation of that, right? That moment of showing, see, this is what we've been saying. And so for me, that moment was a moment of commitment to where we're at. And the next moment that I was thinking about was just a couple of weeks later. I was texting with a good friend in Gaza that was checking in on me. And now 2 weeks after, this is already when the genocide has begun. I mean, bombs were falling all over Gaza. At this point, thousands of people were already killed. The siege has been there for years, but the kind of block of everything, of electricity, of water, of
Yeah.
all of these things already began. But he was checking in with me on me and to see how I am and my loved ones, and obviously the other way around as well. And I think that I don't want to show this as some kind of nice human story of two people. It's not. It's within a context. But I do also think that those moments of people continuing to see themselves on the same side, because those sides are not Palestinian and Jewish, those sides are the people who are against these systems that result in genocide, and those who are resisting them. That's the side. So I think that for me, those moments are constant moments of reminder of this commitment, and why we're doing this work and how we're doing this work. And in many ways, one of the things that was very interesting for me after October 7th was that while a lot of spaces that used to have an communication and dialogue groups and things like that between Palestinians and Israelis collapsed, they couldn't hold this. They couldn't hold this conversation. These spaces just collapsed completely. In places of joint resistance, in what we call protective presence or solidarity presence, in the West Bank and things like that, it didn't collapse because it was built not on this idea that Israelis and Palestinians can hold hands and then look what happens when they don't. It was built on the idea of there's a system here that we have to resist, and that didn't change.
Yes.
I think for me, those are a lot of those moments. I will say one thing, that hope is not a good word, as Haneen said before. But a few months ago, I was speaking to a friend, Palestinian 48, a citizen of Israel, who was asked about this, about hope. And one of the things that he said is, I'm here. We've gone through a Nakba already. We went through a Nakba 70 years ago, and the vast majority of Palestinians were expelled. And my family went through this, and people were killed, and Palestinian lives, like we knew them, were destroyed. And yet I am here today, 70 years ago, and we are more Palestinians within Israel today than we were in 48. And hope is a weird word to give that. But if I think about when we think about sumud, when we think about the steadfastness, when we think about it in the long run, I think it's also important for us to kind of hold that picture in moving forward as well.
Yes. Yes, I totally agree with you. And my hope, for example, comes from almost the same thing, those moments of co-resistance, co-solidarity, people understanding that it's not about loving each other and eating hummus together. That's what I always say. It's really seeing that we're not equal. We're not equal at all. There's an aggressor and the Palestinian people, and we need to change that. And for me, also hope. I saw hope in the past 2 years, in the midst of all the massacre and genocide that happened. I saw it around the world also, like all the demonstrations, all the sit-ins. Like Palestine was everywhere, and it's not about Palestine. I wasn't happy, just because people were like mentioning free Palestine. No, not at all. But just to see people coming out and seeing and recognizing that there is something wrong, and that Palestine exists, and that these people have a story to tell, and that we have to stand by them, and to recognize that it's not about Palestine and Israel anymore. It's about a global thing, and if they don't stand for the justice and for the truth, it will get to them one day. Maybe they will be in the same place, under all kind of injustice. So I saw this hope when I looked at those big demos who went out, and people under the rain, under every day, day and night, they were in the streets saying, no, this has to end. This genocide has to end. This injustice has to end. And that was my hope coming from. And now with the third and last question, and then we'll go to open the space for the questions and answer and sharing with our audience. Given what you now know about risk, strategy, response, resilience, and what actually helps, what are the top 2 priorities we should lean into for the next 90 days? And what one concrete commitment will you invite others make to move them forward? So I see on my screen, because I'm not using my laptop, I'm seeing Sahar. So let's start with Sahar this time.
I don't know if I have a.
Do you need a break? Then we can go back to Ariel.
If someone else has an answer first, I would be happy.
Okay, so Ariel, we'll go back to Ariel.
Okay, I'm gonna think on this one out loud. So, priorities. I want to talk about my reflections on the flotilla. I think I will. So I have been peripherally involved, very close with many of the organizers of the flotilla for many, many years, decades, and including Howeida. And I, I've been thinking a lot about it since they started organizing after October 7th, 2023, around the strategy, right? So prior to this, often the flotillas took place in between Israeli assaults, like there would be the 50-day horrific war killing thousands, and then a flotilla would be organized, and the strategy behind it, because nonviolence is a philosophy, it is a way of life, it is a deep commitment, and it's a strategy, right? We want to think strategically about what our goals are, and we learned that very much from Mahatma Gandhi and from the civil rights movement. Was often at those times, the world had closed their eyes and was not paying attention to Gaza. There would be some attention on the West Bank, but really people were just suffering and dying in this open air prison without a voice and without media coverage and without awareness. And so the flotilla, there was never, there was not an expectation Israel is going to let the flotilla in, certainly. But that activism, that it's like that particular type of activism, it would get some media attention, and maybe it wouldn't be as much as we wanted, it wouldn't be on CNN, but it was somewhere, and it reminded the world that this is happening, and that we need to raise our voices, and that we need to be concerned, and that we needed to know about the blockade, right? Like, why are people trying to bring aid? It's because there is not, far before October 7th and this horrible genocide, there has not been sufficient aid. I think it's 97% of the drinking water in Gaza was unpotable, and that's before this current war, and sewage flowing in the streets, and so on. And so then I had been pondering a lot, like, since the flotilla started during this war, like, where is this, kind of strategy going? Because it's not the media attention that's needed now, right? We do see people are aware, people are watching our live streaming this genocide on their telephones. But it's been gathering strength, right? Like, it started as one ship, and then we had this whole fleet, and it becomes insurmountable in a way, even though, of course, we still don't think Israel's going to let the aid in. That's not new. And it's not that there's a shortage of aid, right? Like, the aid trucks are sitting outside all of the entrances. It's not like all the border crossings. It's not like there isn't aid, but it starts to become insurmountable, and it brings me back. So I do a lot of studying of nonviolence leaders over time, and specifically like preparing to give a lecture on A.J. Muste, who, if folks aren't familiar with him, he's considered to be perhaps the greatest political analyst and nonviolent strategist of history. And and he worked on conscientious objection. And we're seeing that as well among Israelis. I work closely with Israeli conscientious objectors, and I want to give so much appreciation to Sahar for maybe perhaps being the first Israeli conscientious objector I met. But anyway, that I met. But I remember meeting you the first time. But, I've been talking with Atalia Ben Abba, who I brought around the US and around Congress and to speak at synagogues, who's a conscientious objector. And she's been talking about how change is taking place. And it's not that everyone is refusing to serve, but it is that that reservists are refusing to show up. And Israel is burning out its own soldiers. And there is change in the air that way. And so if we go back to like the US during the Vietnam War, when the last time the US had military conscription, during the Vietnam War, it over time became so popular to refuse, and different ways of refusal, whether going to jail as a conscientious objector or evading the draft by hiding out or going to Canada or getting out of it by making sure you were in school or got another type of exemption, whatever it was. It became so insurmountable that the US government had to abolish the draft, and they did a study on it first, and then their study came out and said, like, we can't stop this tide. We cannot jail everybody refusing. We can't get a handle on this. And that's what it felt like as that many ships were sailing this time. And as we know that this isn't the end, that it's becoming something that's insurmountable and is bringing that change. And so watching that growth of a particular nonviolence strategy is I think one of my goals. So whatever evolves for the next, whether it's a flotilla or whatever else is kind of next that builds on this last effort, I encourage folks to sign up and support, whether that's financially or going themselves, if your life permits that, or whatnot. And it is so that there is enough protection as well. I know Israel horrifically mistreated all of the flotilla participants, and as somebody who has been arrested in the West Bank before, yeah, that's how Israel treats people. Still nothing compared to how they treat Palestinians that they detain and arrest. But at the same time, they knew that the world's eyes were watching them, and that what they can or can't get away with to that same degree. And so, I think this is a strategy that we as a movement continue to support and watch go forward and see where we can contribute to that. And, that isn't about everybody joining, but it certainly needs a lot of finances to make happen. And whether it's somebody writing an op-ed for their local media outlet to let word be known, or there's a lot that folks can do, bringing it to your church or synagogue to talk about why this is happening, and bring an emphasis on it, and bring an emphasis on what I think is becoming insurmountable. Not soon enough, as we all know, but we are a movement that is growing.
Yeah. Thank you, Ariel. Habibti Haneen, you have something to say with the commitment you're asking us to? Yeah, tell us.
I can continue from what Ariel was sharing, actually, because it resonates a lot of creating a movement, a whole movement around raising awareness and support. And for me, the most direct one is really to keep pushing this solidarity work to end the genocide and to make pressure on the representatives and the governments. This is really the most main one. for now at least, and also like to really also push as well for boycott movement for the companies that are supporting the Israeli army in this crime, in this against the humanity that is happening, and to really push for people to really understand. So wherever you can research in your own way the items that you see mostly like around you in the area around you, and to create campaigns around it, and to invite people to join the movement, and to support wherever you can for these communities, for these people in Gaza that really need a lot, and in general in the community in Palestine. Yeah, I think continues on the same line, and inviting for more around boycott work as well, and to divest. Yeah, I'll leave it to here. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sahar, would you like to share?
So I think I'll continue that line and maybe be a bit more specific in around kind of the boycott priority. I think that one of the things that has already started to grow dramatically, but really needs to be amped up, especially in the US as the one place where it's not, is everything to do with an arms embargo. And I think that if we're looking at kind of the most direct effect that can be on Israel's destruction machine, it is about arms and the Israeli arms industry. So it's not only about not selling arms to Israel, but also not buying arms from Israel, not developing jointly, not the different subsidies of the different companies. I mean, really just an absolute arms embargo. And it feels like such a low bar to say, do not participate in the actual arming of a genocide. Like really that's the minimum of the minimum. And I think that should be a very clear demand. And I know it has been, but I think that as far as priorities, this really does affect Israel's ability to do a genocide, technically. And I think that the other priority is kind of almost the exact other side of it, as far as from that kind of clear strategic political thinking as possible, which is also to remember that while we are resisting a genocide and need to do everything we can to end it, we also need to think about the people who are currently living under it. And I know that humanitarian work doesn't seem like the right political thing to do a lot of the time, but there are people who are currently starving, and that the difference between them eating or not is financial. And it's not good enough. The problem is that not enough food is coming in. The problem is not economic. We know all of this. But in the end of the line, there are people who are trying not only projects of feeding themselves, but feeding their communities. Haneen was speaking before about her mother baking bread for her community. There's, people around Gaza are trying to do this, trying to help each other within a community. And I think that people who can try to support that in different ways as well is also an important priority, even if it feels less political. It obviously isn't a solution to anything. But I also just wanted to add that into the conversation as well.
Okay, thank you, Sahar. Thank you. And I would like to add just one line about protective presence. For me, after everything we've witnessed on the ground, the top 2 priorities for the next 90 days are first, to strengthen our coordination among all protection actors. And that's what we are doing now. We are doing like joint trainings, joint meetings. We're like making decisions together, Palestinians, Israelis, and internationals also, that our early warning and response systems are faster and better connected. When violence breaks out, every minute matters, believe me. And the second thing, to deepen community-led protection. That means listening to the people living under daily threat and letting them define what safety looks like for them. Our role is to stand beside them, not above them. And the one concrete commitment I want to invite everyone to make: use your own voice and networks, your communities, your universities, your places of faith, to tell these stories and build solidarity around them, Every connection helps protect life, and that's ultimately what unarmed protection is about for me. So yeah, thank you all. Thank you for everything, and I will pass the mic for Sammy for the question and answer.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Deeply, deeply appreciate your insights, your stories, your wisdom, and your leadership in this very, very difficult and challenging time. I want to acknowledge I'm sitting here listening to you, and my hope was lifted in listening to you and the words that all of you shared today. We have time to open up for Q&A, so prepare your questions. And I want to encourage you to ask your questions out loud and make them clear. And I really want to ask you to make them short, so we would allow for as many questions to be asked. Please also use the chat to put links, to put comments. Our aim is not to be speakers and listeners. Our aim is to grow a community of people around the world who are committed to peace and to justice and to nonviolence. So please use the chat space for that. To ask a question, please raise your hand by clicking the reactions button in the bar at the bottom of the Zoom window, then click raise hand. When it is your turn to ask your question, I will invite you to unmute and pass it off to you. If you cannot come off mute to ask your question, please share in the chat and we will do our best to add that question in the queue. Again, given the large gathering, please keep your questions as questions, not as comments, definitely not as short lectures. This said, we do value your voice and will aim to center, as always, marginalized voices in this space. We know many people have many questions, but if I skip you, please forgive me to allow maybe somebody who usually doesn't ask or engage in these conversations. And so, yes, if you have a question that you would like to share, please raise your hand to our wonderful and powerful panelists who joined us today.
Hi, this is Shirley. I respect your instructions. Unfortunately, I don't see where I can raise my hand. My question is, however,
Yes.
what is the ICC status? I know South Africa last year filed the claim, and the last I heard is that a warrant was to be sent for Netanyahu, but that's the end of it. Can you tell me what the status is on the ICC in this matter with respect to genocide?
Sahar, you have an update, or Ariel?
I mean, I'm definitely not a specialist in this, but what we do
Yeah.
know is the ICC has issued quite a few arrest warrants, including some that we don't know about specifically. We do know about Netanyahu as an example, and quite a few heads of Hamas that I think none of them are currently alive. But we also know that there's been another round of issuing for more Israeli officials. The thing is that the ICC cannot really do anything without other countries implementing it. And so, for instance, if these arrest warrants that theoretically would bring an actual into court the crimes of this genocide, means that one of the states, another state that some kind of Israeli official goes to, would have to work with the ICC jurisdiction and to bring them in, to arrest them and bring them in. And I think that's, if we go back to pressure, that's where it's at. That currently, I don't think the ICC can do much more without states saying that they will participate in bringing to justice the people who are already with an arrest warrant on the ICC.
Good. Thank you. Before I jump to Marsha, there's a question here. Who can we give money to that will actually get into Gaza? What is the best practical way to help. We already campaign with MPs and so on. And as you can see, Carol, I think, we have put a link, Bianca has put a link for one of the organizations that we are fiscally sponsoring in Gaza called Dignity for Palestinians. So I'll put a heart on that link. So this has been our way of actually successfully bringing in funds into Gaza, even during difficult times. And there are many, many options, of course, that you could research, but just to answer as one of the options available for you here. Yes, Marcia.
Yes, hello. Thank you. Can I be heard? Can you
Yes,
hear
we
me?
hear you. We hear you.
Okay, good,
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Amira, I was wanting to ask, yes, hello. I was wanting to ask about the unarmed protection training and coordination and where that is happening and how internationals can participate.
Okay. So as UCPiP in Palestine, we do training. We do, first of all, the recruitment. So you go through a recruitment process where people will interview you, go through some questions and so on, and see how much of experience you would have. And then if you went through the recruitment process and you were accepted, you will take a 1-month online course training. And then after the 1 month, when you come here to Israel, Palestine, you would take intensive 1 week face-to-face training before you go to the field. That's how we do it in UCPiP, individuals. And so I can share with you in the follow-up email or something, or I can now send in the chat box a link where for people who would like to join for the next cohorts, because we already had first team are leaving in a few days, the second team are doing the face-to-face training, and tomorrow they will be in the field. And we are recruiting for the third team, which should be in the field in December. So we need people. We really need people. And this is regarding UCPiP, but then we have the other part of the trainings, which is the training for the local partners. So whoever other partners who are doing protective presence, I can name for you around more than 24 different organizations. And just last week, we had a joint training together, a full day from 9 to 4 and near Beit Jala, where we had shared like good practices, learned from each other. We made like role plays and so on to learn from each other. And now we're going to start coordinating among us on how we can make our efforts matter more and more effective. And yesterday night we had like a meeting with together with some other organizations to start doing this work together as a collective, not as I am an organization and doing this work by myself, because it doesn't matter anymore if I do it by myself. It matters if we do it all together. Yeah.
Ariel, you're like just ready to jump in. Yes.
Yes, please. So I put in the chat, and I will again, my dear friends at Center for Jewish Nonviolence are leading another delegation of protective presence. It's called Hinenu, which in Hebrew means we are here. So this is a group run by diaspora Jews, but that spends a sustained time and does a lot of that training and works, as Amira said, so many of these groups work together. And I also put in the chat as well, just that I know that there are real calls right now, as it's October, for protective presence for the olive harvest, which I myself have done before, which is an incredible experience on so many levels, getting to be part of the olive harvest as well as performing that essential role. And there's one flyer from a friend of mine who I imagine Amira knows, Munther Amira, who had sent me to help get out the word on that. But there are a lot of opportunities to go there and do that work. And there are really dire calls for that work, especially as we've been talking a lot about Gaza, but the West Bank is, it's so bad. And the support is so needed. And I will say from my own experience, having been banned and gotten back in, I think with the Israel's entry to the visa waiver program, which should not have happened, but given that it did, it's actually been a bit easier for people to get in to the country.
Wonderful. I just want to also share that Haneen has put in a link to Family Doctors Initiatives, which also gives aid into Gaza. So you could also check their site out. Yeah, thank you, Bill. Buy Palestinian olive oil, Whole Foods. Go for it. So in addition to boycotting Israeli products, buy Palestinian products and support the Palestinian economy as well. Alistair.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'm greatly impressed with all the constructive work that you're doing in very difficult circumstances. One concern I have is the apparent isolation of the West Bank at the moment. All the talk, as you know, is about the Trump peace plan, so-called, but of course that's focused on Gaza. What about the West Bank? When I was there 2 years ago, and things seem to have got so much worse in recent times.
Sammy?
Yeah, Amira, please.
Can I go? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
You live in the West Bank, you're experiencing it.
yes,
So what's the
ye-
situation?
yes, the situation is really, really difficult. We have just 2 days ago, I read this number from an official website. We have around 937 gates and yellow gates and blockades around the different cities and villages. So, for example, around Bethlehem only, Bethlehem Governorate, we have more than 120 different gates. So whenever they want, they close it, they close them. Whenever they want, they open them. So we are basically in cantons or whatever you would like to call them, where our freedom is controlled by this gate that the IDF controls. It's so scary even to drive. When I come here from Bethlehem to Jericho, I have to go through like bypass roads. And they are so scary. I used to drive in the past at like 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning with no fear and no worry. And now I'm so afraid, like from settlers attacks, from the brutality that settlers can like put an ambush on the way and like they can hurt you. And everything else, like Jenin. Jenin is the Jenin refugee camp was all emptied. The Tulkarem refugee camp was emptied, and every day there is like demolishing orders for a new house, for a new building, and then you have the land confiscations, and then the annexation, and the outpost. You would drive from Bethlehem also to Nablus on the main road, where you would see the main settlements in the past. And now, every like 50 meters, you would see a new outpost on the right and on the left, on the right and on the left. You have thousands of new outposts are being built. And this makes it impossible for even the two-state solution that they have been talking about for the past 2 weeks, you know? So it has been really difficult for us in the West Bank.
Yeah, thank you, Amira. Margaret, please.
Yeah, I'd like to suggest that we in the United States and Canada, we have more press conferences and call out Jared Kushner. I think it's disgraceful and unbelievable that he would be on the peace team. He's a thug. His father's a convicted felon. The family is disgusting. And I don't hear it on CNN. I don't hear it on MSNBC. And I think we need to, up the ante. I mean, we already know he's buying property, and that's why they're clearing it so they can put their hotels up. They have no intention of letting Palestinians go back. I mean, we're kidding ourselves if we think that's possible. And I think we need to promote again that most of the world is working for a two-state solution, also the Catholic Church. I think we need to call out that Bibi Netanyahu's son lives in Miami Beach. He doesn't serve in the military. It's good to kill other Israeli young men and women, but not his son. I think that we need to ask, do Jewish people call themselves Jews? Are they just secular Jews, or do they think that God talked to them through Hebrew scripture? All over, it talks about the widow, the orphan, and the stranger. They seem to have thrown their whole spiritual heritage over. And the other thing is in Genesis 16, God is speaking to Hagar and said, your nation too shall be great.
Yeah.
So they have.
So, Margaret, I want to see if you have a question for our participants because of the short of time. Sorry to interrupt
We
you.
all organized to have a content that goes out there and blasts the publicity field. You guys can't talk. We can. They'll kill you. They won't kill us, the United States yet. It's getting close, and in Canada. So how can we put our public image out there that has a stronger message?
Yeah, thank you. Anyone would like to tackle? How can we? Maybe Ariel, as you're living in the US.
Sure.
Yeah.
I will encourage folks to our small town, our newspapers are not totally dead yet. Some still exist. And I know that was one of the first actions that I ever took, was writing a local op-ed and submitting it to your local paper. You can often, I recommend Friends Committee on National Legislation. They have a lot of, and AFSC, also Quaker, have a lot of resources and often have like a template or a toolkit to of like what to write. And I encourage folks to get meetings with your members of Congress. There is significant legislation right now. I myself last month got a meeting with a Jewish member of Congress, not a progressive, and it was with Atalia Ben-Abba, one of the Israeli conscientious objectors. And shortly after the meeting, he signed on to one of the pieces of legislation. We do have advocacy voices, also part of an effort this month where Arab American Institute and Churches for Middle East Peace, and I think Fellowship of Reconciliation will be involved, where we're bringing Palestinian Americans who have lost family in Gaza, who've lost loved ones, to Washington, D.C. as a delegation to speak and meet with lawmakers. So I encourage folks to do that. There's the Block the Bombs Act. I remain shocked that we have, that in my lifetime, there is a bill in Congress to stop weapons to Israel. So there are things that we can do, and both ways to raise our voices and talk to your members of Congress. It's a slow and frustrating political system that we have here in the US, but it does still exist, and get involved in it. And there's a ton of fantastic groups doing this kind of work, whether in Congress or, doing protest work. So get out and get involved.
Yeah, the title of our gathering is that we continue. This is the thing, the courage to continue. In the midst of continuous genocide, we continue our resiliency and our resistance. Before I bring our time to closure, I want to ask Mubarak Awad, who is the founder of Nonviolence International and happens to be my uncle, maybe to give a few words from his wisdom to us in this gathering.
Thank you, Sammy, and thanks everybody. I really enjoy seeing a lot of you and want to thank you for thinking seriously of being an activist on behalf of the Palestinians, especially those who are in Gaza. And that's important for the people in Gaza to know that there is a solid group around the world behind them, and they would not give up, and that is great. Also, I am interested in trying to figure out and find out how we could get boats from the Arab countries, from Africa, and as well as from Asia to be part of and join with us to go to Gaza. It's a tough things, and we don't want it always to be just European. We want it to be international, but we need Africa to participate with us. We need Asia to participate with us. And that will be the way that we will have it as more clear that the whole world is interested in stopping the genocide in Gaza. We're all trying to hope the best. It's a cloud, it's a very, very dark, black cloud over Gaza and over Palestine and the West Bank, and it will go away. It will go away. Don't think that this is going to last forever. And our hope is how to make it easy for those people who have been suffering. And my plea to you is, please remember children, and we need to think of what we could do to the children in those areas in the West Bank and in Gaza, because they are lost at this time, and we need more programs, more dedication to help children. And thank you for participating. We have more 145 from different countries, and we are always interested in sharing with you what is on our mind, open, so that you could help us and we could help you if you have any ideas that you want us to do. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mubarak. Genocide resistance grows. This was the theme of our gathering today, and this is something that we acknowledge. Seeing hundreds of thousands of people just in this last week in Europe and many cities around the world gather in mass protests shows us that there is awareness and there is a movement taking place, and we are all part of it. I want to thank Ariel, Haneen, Sahar, Amira, the team who helped organize. I want to thank all of you for coming and for joining us today. Thank you for your commitments to nonviolence. We need all of you in this work. This is for all of us to build the future that we are dreaming of, not just in the Holy Land, but all around the world. And so we invite you, if you would like to become a monthly donor to Nonviolence International, to come and visit Palestine, be part of a UCP delegation, and to understand nonviolence is not a spectator sport. However you decide to take action after we log off today, please reach out and let us know. We'd love to connect with you. We'd love to support you in your initiatives for nonviolence engagement.